Welcome to Chandwell. My name's Michael and I've started to use serial packets to mock up my next major build, Station Road, along the front of my N-gauge model railway set in West Yorkshire in 1993. When starting a major scratch building project like this, I find it's important to plan and plan some more. I showed you last week my designs for the entire street and I was fairly confident that they'd work. But before embarking on a 6-month building project, I really do need to be sure I'm going to have success. So to that end, I used the free software Inkscape to turn my drawings into 3-dimensional models made out of simple serial packets. So join me then for Starting a Street, Building Station Road, Part 4. I'm ready to mock up the first building, which comprises the green, blue and purple parts of my elevation drawing. I'm fairly certain it's accurate, based on my estimates, but I want to refine the roofline a little. I've decided to make the pitch of the roofs of the green and purple buildings the same as the pitch of the blue tower's roof. I zoom in by holding Ctrl and wheeling my mouse. I used the line tool with snapping turned on and drew round the 3 points of the top of the tower. I then dragged the triangle down to the plan view. I've rotated it 90 degrees using the 90-degree rotate button. The triangle lined up with the edge of the roof, and then I held Ctrl down and dragged the corner of the triangle downwards. Because I'm holding Ctrl, it keeps the proportions of the triangle constant, whilst making it bigger. It eventually snaps into place against the other side of the building. This is now the shape of the gable of the purple building. Let's rotate it back and drag it up here. We can see that the height of this triangle is 21.242mm. I've drawn the purple roof at 20.794mm, so I need to increase it by a smidgen. I can just type into the height box here, and then drag it up into position. This puts it out of shape down here, but by double clicking the shape to activate the nodes tool, I can then just drag the nodes back into position. This gives a lovely line along here, where the pitch of the tower matches the pitch of the roof behind it. There's a hipped portion of the roof here. I draw a rectangle, snapping to the top of the tower and the top of the purple roof. Change its colour, drag it and snap it up here. I make it wider. I hold Shift and drag the width, and that makes it grow equally either side. And then with them both selected, I use Path Division from the menu. This cuts the triangle in two along the line of the rectangle, and gives us the shape of the hipped part of the roof. I can now repeat the whole thing for the green roof. So because the green roof is now slightly higher, the top of the tower also needs to be moved up a bit. I double click it to turn on the node tool. I shift click the top 3 nodes to select them all, and then just drag them up. And then I adjust the green and purple roofs to match. The roof lines are ready. I copy the purple building with Ctrl C and paste it with Ctrl V. You'll see that I've drawn it to the level of the baseboard. The street is somewhat higher than that. We don't need the chimney stacks, these can be deleted. So what about the sides of the building? We need it to be this size, from the front of the building to the back. I draw a simple rectangle using snapping to get it to the right front to back size. Drag it over here, rotate it 90 degrees, and snap it to the corner of the building. Sometimes you need to zoom in a bit to get the snapping into the right place, especially with rectangles for some reason. And then drag the corner to the top of the building. This is now the correct size. Let's duplicate the purple bit of roof we made earlier using Ctrl D and drag it over here. I'm going to use Path Union to turn it back into one triangle. Let's also use a similar technique using the drawings of the chimneys to get a chimney into the right place on the gable. Something like that. I select the chimney, the triangle and the rectangle and use Path Union to make them into one shape. Now let's concentrate on the size this roof needs to be to align with the gable. I've made 2 videos in the past on how to make roofs, and particularly hipped roofs, work very simply without needing computers or mathematics. If you find that interesting, I've linked them both in the description and hopefully they'll be of some use. So quickly then, I simply use the measure tool to measure the length of this diagonal, 38.68mm. And now I simply make the height of the whole roof component the same, 38.68mm. The angle of the hipped bit has gone a bit funny, but that's fine, it is 100% correct. This gable has a part that is hipped. I worked out its position on the gable earlier, but let's get this top triangle sized so that it joins the hip properly when I fold it in. Using the original elevation view, I just measure the length of the hipped part, 15.01mm. And now all I need to do is make the height of the triangle the same as that, 15.01mm. Brilliant! Let's not forget that this side projects to the front of the tower here. Let's just drag this node over to align with the front face. Actually, it projects beyond the front face, so let's move the component over here and away from the fold line. Measure a rectangle from the hip triangle to the tower front. Rotate it, align it with the hip, drag round these two nodes and align with the rectangle. Now to draw the other side using the same techniques. Brilliant! I make it white with grey lines, add the other roof face and make it the right height. Take a copy, rotate it, place it on the A4 page and print it onto an A4 sticky label. Just fits on the page. I use old cereal packets for my mock-ups. This cornflake box will do. The label is stuck to the box, and then I just cut around the outside lines, and a few light strokes score the fold lines. The building just folds into itself. I used sellotape to hold it in the right shape. After spending about 19 hours drawing Station Road so far, it only took 35 minutes to draw, print, stick, cut and fold this building. All that time planning really does pay off at this stage. The rough nature of the folded mock-ups means that it doesn't align properly here, but I'm confident that this arrangement makes the whole building's front roof appear to be the same surface, and that works really well. I'm really excited to see the effect moving left to right from Bridge Lane, past Water Lane, High Street and onto Station Road. The views down the road look great, and these enticing alleyways will look wonderful when glimpsing moving trains behind. I've worked on Station Road for 3 hours this week, and that takes the total time I've spent on Station Road to 22 hours. The 4 sticky labels and bits of tape have bloated the cost of Station Road this week to 40p. I'm not counting the cereal packets, I'm not counting knife blades or glue because I haven't replaced any blades or used any glue yet. I'm not counting electricity for the computer and the printer, but what about the printer ink, which is probably my biggest outlay. It is probably my biggest outlay, but because the whole family uses the printer, it's hard to measure. I run my cartridges right down, well past the point that they report they are empty. I made most of Water Lane with the ink in this state. I'll be replacing them soon, and they should last for the entire build of Station Road. So onwards. I have the rest of the road to mock up now, and once that's done I'll get a much better view of the whole thing and work out whether Station Road works. Some of you still have doubts about blocking the trains, but I think you'll find that that isn't going to apply. Here's an example members video that I made in April last year, so I think that's about 17 months ago. This is the first time I started talking about Station Road and High Street, and it might be interesting for you to go and have a look at exactly what's happened between then and now, what I did the same and what's changed. So until next week then, where we look at Station Road in its complete mocked up entirety. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.